Howdy y'all, I'm cooking outside over an open fire. Let's get to it. Today I'm using up a good amount of potatoes I harvested the other day, as y'all saw in the video. So I'm going to be chopping them up. I originally started to slices. I was thinking I was going to use slices, but then I second guessed myself and just started chopping them up into little cubes because it would cook faster and cook more at a time and things would go by faster. And I'm leaving a lot of the cooking here in the video so y'all can see that it does take a lot of time. I did cut out a lot. Also, my phone shut itself off due to overheating, not from being near the fire, but because it was in the sunshine, and the phone just quit on me. So, yes, that was interesting. I was not expecting that, but I'm going to leave a lot of this video together so y'all can just see how long it takes to cook over an open fire. I know a lot of videos, whether it be mine or someone else's, a lot is cut out. And one, we do that because it's simplified. Two, we do it so it's more entertaining. But three, it can get kind of dull after a while. You do all this cooking and you're just staring at it, trying to record it. But this video, I'm going to leave a decent amount of it together. This did take a lot longer than the video. It took a couple of hours total. Do all this, transferring from my kitchen to outside, the backyard, getting the fire going, everything involved. And there were several things I had to do in between while things were cooking, so it took even longer. But we're going to keep it mostly put together. Going to put some music over so it keeps it entertaining. It's not just silence. Be a little bit more entertaining. Going to speed some things up like this. I wish I was this fast, but unfortunately I'm not. And at the end, if y'all see me talking, I am on the phone with my best friend while I'm cooking. So if y'all think I'm talking to myself, well, I could have been, but most of it was I was chatting with my best friend. So we're going to have our potatoes. We're going to have some green onion sprouts I've been growing. My other onions did not take, unfortunately, so I'm not using any onions, whole onions. I'm going to have to plant some more or go buy some from the store. But I am very happy I got to use a lot of my green onion sprouts. I only had several planted here. We'll be planting more soon. But I was very happy about it. And it's just going to add a lot of flavor. I wasn't going to have eggs to start off with, but then I decided to make a lot of extra food. So then I went and got eggs. So it's going to be just a Mod Podge breakfast, kind of a good hearty breakfast for multiple people. And just going to be fun outside. What I'm doing here is I'm taking the tips off because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes the tips can get a little hard and prickly, especially if you're trying to eat them and stuff. And I don't like the feeling of that, so I don't want to put anyone else through that. So I take the tips off the green onions just to give myself more ease of mind that no one's going to chew on my nose and it's going to stab their cheek and be uncomfortable. So anyways, just going to chop these up. Going to chop a tomato and get all the ingredients in line. Have it all out for you so y'all can see what I'm putting in there. And we'll just keep on going. So let's have some fun. So while stuff is inside, I'm getting the fire ready. I did start this ahead of time to save time, and while I was chopping up other things, I was having the fire starting to burn. That way it gets warm, and it does take time. I don't put the skillet over a new fire. I let it burn, and I probably add wood at least 2 times, just so that the coals are hot, the ashes are all hot, and it's not just the fire itself that's going to be heating up the skillet. And I'm not including all that because it is extremely boring and there's nothing going on except for fire starting, and I didn't think y'all would want to watch that just entirely, so I'll be cutting a lot of that out, but we'll be adding extra wood so it's a hot base underneath the fire to keep the skillet warm. I don't like adding wood constantly left and right because then I have to take off the grate and all that stuff, and it gets old after a while. But I have been trying to shorten up the videos. My best friend and I have been working with shorter videos for our different channels, and it works better, but a lot of folks see the different cast iron cooking videos and they think, oh, it's super easy, and it can be, but it does take a lot of time, especially doing it outside. And for me, I live in Los Angeles, so I don't have just an outdoor kitchen, and trying to get from the kitchen to outside to the fire and making sure the fire department doesn't get called on me. I've had that before, cooking outside, and I had that happen several times. People are poking their heads over, ready to call the fire department or the police because they see smoke. If I'm smoking some cheese or turkey or some shrimp, and it gets old when the fire department's showing up and you're just cooking. So that can be exciting if you have nothing to do, but if you're trying to get stuff done, it's not fun trying to explain why you don't want your door bashed in because they think there's a fire in your backyard. But it does take fairly easy if y'all put good, if you want to call it tinder, if y'all are out in the woods, or if you're like me and just use packing paper or just the useless mail that gets sent, use all the advertisements. It works really well. Part of cardboard boxes from shipping boxes that I get. It helps the fire get going, and it can start fairly small and get it building up, but again, getting the bottom heated up. For me, that's more essential than getting a big flame. I don't really necessarily need a flame touching the skillet. I don't mind it because I have a skillet for indoors and outdoors, and I keep them separate so that way my glass stove countertop, or whatever you want to call it, glass top stove just doesn't get all ooky. I've done that before, and it took a while to clean it off because cooking for a bit and realized all the black was sticking to the glass, and it was disgusting, and had to clean that off with some heavy duty stuff. And this is pallet wood. I'll create a video in the future about pallets and how I cut them up, because for me, pallet wood works amazing. Again, I live in Los Angeles. I do not have trees to cut down, and getting firewood here is super expensive. And I'm not going to put one of those manufactured 4-hour logs in here. First of all, I'm not cooking over it for 4 hours. Second, I have no idea what they put in there to make it all bind together and artificial stuff. I'm not going to have that in my food. I'd rather not have cancer from that. I'm getting enough cancer from the smog here in Los Angeles. So the least amount, the better. But what I do is I go to industrial areas and find pallets that are just thrown away, and makes it super easy. I just cut them up with the circular saw and good to go. But I'll make a video more detailed about that later. Here are the ingredients. So y'all can see the potatoes I queued up. I have mild cheddar and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon bits. I got my lard. I got tomatoes. Got my vegetable oil. I do have my eggs mixed with milk inside in the refrigerator. I just didn't want to sit out in the heat just in case I got delayed for some reason. Something else was happening because there were several things happening that I had to kind of attend to while cooking, which made it longer. I didn't want all that stuff heating up in the sun and just going bad on me. And it may not go bad. I didn't want to test it. I don't want to find out later whether it went bad or not. Just more peace of mind, I kept it in the fridge. So starting off with the vegetable oil, gonna get that scooting around the pan, skillet, 6 of one, half dozen the other. Gonna get it all the way across. I like an even coating. Some folks, they just put it in one spot and then they scoot whatever they're using around to spread the oil. I like to spread it around first just to get it covering everything. That's just me. It doesn't mean it has to be done, but that's a personal preference. So we're getting our first batch of potatoes going. I did about 2 batches of potatoes. That way it wasn't trying to flip everything over, have stuff falling out of the skillet. I've done that before, and this is just easier in my opinion. It's the way I do it. So we'll just keep on doing this. At various points, y'all will see me put in the bacon bits, the green onions. I normally put that in closer to the end because potatoes take a lot longer to cook, and the bacon bits have a tendency to get crispy extra fast. And I love crispy stuff, but they start to burn really easy. So that's why I put it in near the end, along with the green onion slices. But before that, I will add the lard. So y'all will be seeing that. I'll be adding lard in there, or the Sysco, just so that it keeps everything nice and oily. It gives it extra flavor, the butter flavor, but it keeps it all oiled up. And I really like that. It's better from my perspective than just adding oil each time. But also it's not butter just sitting out. It lasts better outside, doesn't melt. Even better than the Country Crock. Whereas inside, I'm kind of half and half on whether I'd use Country Crock or the Sysco. So the first batch of potatoes did not have cheese, as I didn't know whether the folks that I was going to give them to wanted cheese or not. The second batch did, because I know I wanted cheese. And yes, I do have water over the fire. I was going to have a debate whether I was going to put coffee grounds in there or hot chocolate mix, but I didn't do either because I ended up having to rush, so I just left it over the fire and poured it to put out anything afterwards because I really had to get going. This took even longer than expected, even though I allowed several hours for it. Just a bunch of things kept popping up, which is unfortunate, but it does take longer having to run to the kitchen, run outside. Not that it's a huge difference because I live in Los Angeles, it's not very far, but still open up the doors, getting all that stuff done. It just takes a lot more time than just being by the stove, the refrigerator, the sink. So if y'all are doing that, do allow more time, because then if you forget something, you have to run back inside, come back outside. Unless y'all have an outdoor kitchen, then good for you. Hope you feel blessed with that, because I wish I had that. But again, in Los Angeles, so it's not as easy. But we're going to keep going. I'm adding in the eggs and milk mixture. So I started off a little bit with the bacon bits, the green onion parts, and then added in all the mixture that I had, about 1/3 milk, 2/3 eggs. It's about 6 eggs worth, so it's a decent amount, and it's going to be cooking over the fire for a bit. The flames are settling down, but it is still hot underneath. Again, I didn't go for a roaring fire. I just want it hot underneath, so it's a more slower, even cook, and gives the eggs a lot more texture. That's why I like doing it this way, instead of just singeing it and frying it super fast. After adding the cheese, I'm adding in the tomato that I cut up. It adds a lot of moisture to the eggs, which some of it will be cooked off along with the moisture of the eggs from this point on. But in the eggs, when you're eating it, it tastes really good, nice and fresh. So I really enjoy that taste. Unfortunately, this is where my phone clunked out from the heat, not necessarily from the fire, but from the sun, because it was getting hot out, and I started a lot later than I wanted to. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show the eggs being poured out onto the plates, which looked really cool, but I had to get the eggs off the fire, otherwise it was just going to be completely burnt. My phone finally cooled down. I was debating whether I should throw the phone in the freezer or not, but I didn't, and everything turned out great. I'm just sorry that I could not get that on video. Unfortunately, next time I'm really hoping I can do that. I'll plan on starting earlier. I would really love to do this more in the early morning hours, since now I do have something that will hold my phone. It'd be a lot better in my opinion, because I love cooking when it's dark, whether it be inside or outside. It's just a lot better. I like it. It's cooler, because this was later in the day. So that was just unfortunate, but I will be trying to do that for y'all in another video. Again, I'll have another video about the pallets and where I get them and what I do with them in another video. I hope y'all enjoyed. It's just a longer video to show this does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of time, effort, and commitment into learning how to cook over fire. It's not as steady as a stove. It can be after a while once you learn it, but first few times, at least for me, it was not. It was very abrupt, and it just didn't turn out right. But it takes practice. This is practice, practice, practice. It doesn't happen just the first time. If it does for you, good for you. I didn't have that happen for me. But I'll go over that in another video as well. Hope you all enjoyed the process of making the food. It's not just the destination, it's the journey. It's the cooking that's enjoyable as well. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.